human life in years. So each one of those little things is one of the years of your life. So that's one way of visualizing your life. Here's my little squeaky. Next slide. Yeah, no back.
There we go.
And this is a 90-year human life in months. So each of those little circles is a month of your life. So you've got birth, you've got your 30th birthday, you've got your 60th birthday, you turn 90. One assumes you don't just drop dead at that point, but it's just a general guide. And this is where we're going. This is a 90-year human life in weeks. So these, every little tiny, tiny square is one of the weeks of your life. Which is kind of interesting. So you've got, whoa, go back. These are the years, and then these are the weeks of the year. So that's quite useful. That's how many weeks it takes to turn a little baby into a 90-year-old. So when you're not thinking about it, oh, go back, sorry. I don't have a back duck.
Yeah, you can.
when you're not thinking about it, it sort of seems like Rowan was saying, like life just goes on and you have all the time in the world. But in reality, that is basically all you get. That's you can see the weeks of your life laid out right there to count. It's kind of anyway. So how do we typically use this time? This is the life of a typical American, because I stole it from Tim's website, not mine. And we're fairly similar. So you've got your early years, you've got your primary school, university. This is your career. What really surprised me was how big retirement is. Don't expect it to be that long. I think that should be like a KiwiSaver thing. It's like retirement, longer than you'd expect. And so he's gone through and he's pinpointed like some major times of things. So that's a way of looking at your life that's a bit freaky. There's another way to use the chart is to look at when other people have died. So if you're over the age of 27, you're doing pretty well. You've beaten these guys. Steve Jobs, JFK, Elvis. I feel like Martin Luther King was really old, but really he's not that much older than me. And if you want to be really depressed, you can look at when all these people have accomplished things. So Tim on his way to the chicken across the road. Anyway. Yeah, they could be a little bit depressing if you don't feel like you've accomplished a great deal in your life. Yep, I don't know what freaking fly miles are. Anyway.
So nobody does anything after 30, probably.
No. Turns out, no. If you're going to accomplish something, you got to do it around this time, otherwise.
Rest on your laurels.
So, when you look at your life this way, it's a little bit morbidly fascinating. So you could make a chart like this for yourself, and you could use it in a bunch of different ways. That's yours. So you could make it the world's most depressing advent calendar. I actually think that's how a lot of people live their lives, possibly. Or you could see it as like your great responsibility. Go back. You have this great responsibility. You have all these little boxes, and it's your responsibility to use them in the best possible way that you can. So you've got to think, each one is a little canvas. You get to paint it. You get to make up a little tapestry of your own life. It's kind of cool. Yeah, so it's like, how are you going to spend your life? Are you going to break it down like this? Or are you going to break it down into a bunch of different colors, or do something else with it? But this is all you've got. So that's one way of putting your life into perspective, is to like draw little boxes and color them in. There's another way of putting your life in perspective. No, that's Nemo. Sorry. Yeah. I got really bored. So I'm 36, but I stole this from Tim, who's 34. This is the number of winters that he's lived through, and this is how many that he would live through if he lived to the age of 90. So you can measure your life by events. So it's good to know that I've got through this many winters, but I still have this many to go. It's kind of weird. You could also count it as Christmases. This is how many Christmases I've lived through. This is how many I've got left to go. I've got like 56 left to go. Trips to the dentist, assuming I keep all my teeth until I'm 90. You can look at it like I read 5 books a year. And if I live to 90, that means that I've got 300 books left in my life to read. Which means, yeah, only 300 books out of all the books that there are in existence and have ever been written. And I get to choose 300, and the rest of them I just have to pass off into existence without even knowing what happens. It's kind of freaky, which means I probably shouldn't be rereading Cold Mountain again for the 5th time. I should probably read something new. You could look at it like, we've got the Olympics this year. This is how many more Olympics I have the chance to go to in my life. I haven't been to the Olympics before. I don't know if I really want to, but if I do decide I want to, I've got 14 more chances to do it. It's kind of like, yeah, I feel like I should now. Anyway. Another way to look at it, which is a bit more depressing. So off we go back, sorry. Go back. So these things are kind of fun to look at. So if you're like in your 30s like me, it means that you've lived through like a third of your life, and you've still got 2/3 of it left to go. That's kind of cool. But there are some things in life that don't degrade at like such an even amount. Like it's not spread out quite as evenly, and that is relationships. So if we go forward, I'll look at my notes. My mother is 65. Up until the age of 19, when I went flatting for the first time, I saw my mother probably 95% of the days that I was at home of my life. So that's 6,600 days. Since moving out, I visit her maybe once a week, and with an extra like 10 visits a year for like special occasions and things like that. So that's 930 days. And assuming she lives until she's 90, that'll be another 25 years. So that's another 1,550 visits. So by that calculation, I've already been through 83% of the time that I'm ever going to see my mother in my life. And that's pretty good, because I live in the same city as my mother. No.
Oh, that one.
No. Yes. Tim, who wrote this post, lives in Boston. No, lives in New York, and his parents live in Boston, so he sees them maybe 10 days a year. And this is how much time he's got left with his parents. How much, like, face-to-face, going and seeing them, sitting around the lounge, being bored, drinking cups of tea, time he's got left. So he works out that by the time he finished high school, he had already been through 93% of the face-to-face time with his parents that he would ever have in his life. Which is a little bit depressing. I have a friend, Pete, who I flattered with for about 3 years. We racked up probably 900 Star Trek watching, chocolate pudding eating, hangout sessions in that time, and now he lives in Adelaide, and I see him maybe 3 days a year, which means that we've only got about 14% of our face-to-face hanging out time left. So Tim called this the tail end. He says you're often down to the tail end of people who you love, even if you don't realise it, even if you feel like you've got a whole lot of time left, you might not actually have that much time. And his 3 key takeaways with that I have condensed into some alliteration. Proximity, so living near the people you love is important. He estimated that he had maybe 10 times the amount of hangout time left with the people who lived in the same city as him versus people who lived very far away. Priorities are important, so the amount of time you have left with somebody depends on how high on your list of priorities they are. So if somebody is important to you, then you might want to make them a priority and spend a bit more time with them. And lastly, presence. If you are in the tail end with somebody who you love, then you should probably be aware of that and be focused and don't be staring at your phone playing the gem swiping game, which is what I've been doing with my mother lately. Just be very mindful that you might not have as much time left as you think, and use it well. And one last perspective shift. This is my own interpretation, this isn't from Tim. So at the start of the year I had 4 weeks when I wasn't very happy. I was a bit upset, things weren't going very well, and I was just a bit, my life sucks. And the thing is, when you're feeling kind of crappy and like your life sucks, it kind of looks like that. Like you're so zoomed in, you feel like this is what your life is. This is what your life has always been. This is what your life always will be. It's hard to see anything else, you're just like, ah! I'm cool. So what really helped me was a Spotify playlist from the 90s, but also zooming out and seeing my life, seeing these 4 crap weeks in the grand scheme of my life. But also, what was good was to visualize all the other crap things that have happened. It sounds weird, but it was useful. Like all this other crap that's happened in my life. Like there was a time when I was 18 and I broke up with my first boyfriend. Cha! And I felt like the world was going to end. There was a time when my cats have died. Cats always die. There's a cat dying there, there's a cat dying there, there's a cat dying there. And every time a cat dies, I'm like, the world is going to end. It's horrible. There was a time when my mother got breast cancer, and I thought the world was going to end. There was a time when my dad died, I thought the world was going to end. There was this time up here when I accidentally farted in front of a bunch of kids who I really wanted to like me. Farting. I thought the world was going to end. I was 17. And there have been things like 9/11. You thought, how can life go on after this thing happens? The earthquakes, the whole city falls down. How does life go on? I don't know. Work problems, relationship problems, car problems, flatmate problems. What the hell am I doing with my life problems? All this crap. But despite that, I'm still here. And not only that, but in between all those things, there's been a bunch of great things. There's times when I went traveling. Like the times meeting friends, seeing old friends, meeting new friends. There's a time when I partially circumnavigated Australia in a Kingswood. There's a time when I figured out where transmission fluid goes. There's a bunch of times when I've done things that I'm proud of. Times when I've stood up for myself, stood up for other people. When I thought something really great, something I'm proud of. There was this one time when I had this dream that I was on a plane crash. You know, the plane crashing dream. And then I'm sitting there in my dream, and I'm like, oh, the plane's crashing. And my reaction wasn't to freak out. My reaction was, okay, let's make a plan. How do we get out of this? I just remember waking up in the morning and being like, oh my God, you're so awesome. That's cool, subconscious. And then lastly, there's all the times that people have complimented me on my shoes, which, you know, is awesome. I like that. So it's good to keep those in perspective. So my point was that when you have weeks of crap like this, it kind of helps to zoom out and see it in perspective. Firstly, to see that it's not the first time you felt like crap and you're still here. And in between all that time, there's good stuff. And logic dictates that if there's been good stuff, then there will be good stuff again, and it will be over eventually. So to summarize everything that I've talked about, you only get so many little squares in your life. So just make sure that you're using them consciously. Don't just let them dribble away like that little advent calendar. Be mindful of how much time you really have left to do the things that you want to do and see the people that you want to see. And if you're feeling crap, it can help to step back and visualize your life like a bunch of little boxes and see that there's lots of good stuff as well as crap stuff. And that's okay. And also, I recommend Spotify 90s playlists. Really useful. Surprisingly useful. Awesome. That's it. Yeah.
That was great. Thank you. And when I say that, please don't think I'm just being nice. Because being said that's what I do. I was all poised to say it was crap, but it's not. It was really great. Quite an eye-opener. The truth sort of, it was hurting me actually. You're sort of showing all the kind of the negative aspects of the clock ticking away. I'm thinking you're in your 30s and I've got 2/3 behind me. I've only got a third to go, and I'm thinking, oh. And then you turn it around very nicely at the end there and reminded me of all those good spaces between the worry spaces and the bad times, and the good advice to just be conscious of how you use time, and the relationship advice, prioritise and try to be present with those who are important, because you don't have all that much time left with them. So thank you very much.